Okay, here we go. So today, basically, what we're looking at doing is addressing some of the things that you guys, as new users and managers and owners, can go ahead and set up, um, and sort of quick, easy things that you guys can do on your own. So what we'll do, we'll go into the settings section here. In the financial section, what you guys can do is go in and enter your bank account number. Purpose of this being if you're going to print a deposit slip to take to the bank when you guys are live and running, the bank account number is just going to feed right onto that deposit slip based on the number that you have in here. You can also go in and add in your fiscal year end. All that is when is your fiscal year end, and where you'll see that is on this dashboard here. Um, it's going to show you down in this sales section, okay, this is my fiscal year end. So, if it changed it to August, then August would be down at the end. So you can set that in this banking section here. In the configuration section, what you can do is come in and set your customer start number. All that means is when you create a new customer in the system, this is the number that it's going to start at. So a lot of people will have an import from an old system that we do for you guys. And let's say that number goes up to 950. What you can do is come in and just say, okay, I want my next customer to start at 975. So anything new that I'm adding in from in Document Manager will start at 975 and progress forward. You can also come in and do that with your order start number, so along the same lines. We will also do an import of your order history, and odds are you're going to want to have a little bit of gap so that there's no overlap in between the two order numbers. So what you can do is come in here and say, okay, I want my order start number to be 1,500, and we can get that set at 1,500, or let's just say you want to set it at 5,000. Whoops. So you guys can come in and set those. Manually enter invoice date. What this is if you are live and running, if you have an order, we'll open up an order here. If you have the manually enter invoice date set, what that means is you're going to have to come in here and say, okay, I'm going to be invoicing this on the 4th, and then you'll be able to post the order. If you have the manually enter invoice date set to no, all that's going to do is when you post this order, it's automatically going to feed in today's date. Just a nice tool. A lot of people kind of don't like the ability to post date or predate, but some people do. So you have the option whether or not you want to be able to manually put that in or not. Unpost orders from past months. All this is it allows you, if you want to make an amendment to something, whether an order was overcharged or you need to make an adjustment to an invoice, all this means is that you can unpost the order if it's set to yes and make that change as necessary. If that's set to no, then you won't be able to make any changes, and odds are you'll have to do some accounting maneuvering to make any amendment to an invoice or anything along those lines. The approved total warning, what that's going to do is it's sort of just like a final check for an invoice. As you can see right now, this is set to no, so we don't have anything in here. If we were to go set this to yes, and we refresh this order, now we've got this approved total down at the bottom. So this is sort of a final check for someone doing the invoicing. If you've got someone in the shop that does all the invoicing, they can come in there and say, okay, the total is $2709.76. I'm going to approve that. That's what the customer is told. That's fair. We'll save that. And now, because the total and the approved total match, we'll be able to post that order. Now, if we were to come in here and say, okay, well, the approved total is only 2,500, and we went to post this order, you're going to get an error up at the top that just says the approved total must match the ordered total. So it's just sort of a fail-safe to make sure all the numbers match in the end. You can come in and say, set your accounting program, whether it's generic or QuickBooks. The functionality of this is if You're set to QuickBooks. Basically, when you're doing a closeout, it's going to give you a text file, a generated text file for you. Um, the shipping taxable and postage taxable, I know in Canada, the postage is not taxable, so, but in the States, postage is not taxable, but in Canada it is. Um, so we can set that to whether or not it's taxable or not, same as the shipping. Further below that, we have the deposit types. So this has to do with the accounting section. So if you have your accountant doing the deposits or whoever may be doing them, these are just going to be the types that he or she is going to be able to select from, whether it's an adjustment, cash, direct, credit card, PayPal, whatever it may be. You can add and delete and edit as many as you want. And all that's going to do is show up here when you go to do a deposit. We'll just edit one of these. It's going to be able to give you a type and say, okay, well, this is going to be my direct deposit stuff. This is my visas. So that's where you'll see those deposit types there. Below that, along the same lines, is the payment type. So whether or not it was cash or check or credit card. On account just means you're going to basically have a running tab with the customer. Maybe they settle up 30 days or whatever. So that's where the payment types are. And along the same time, the same line, you'd be able to come in and see a payment, and it would be the type of cash or check or credit card. So that's where you'll see the payment types. And below that, we have the payment terms. So this is where you would come in and say, okay, we're doing a 30, 60, 90. We're doing net 15 upon receipt, credit card. This is just the terms that you're going to set. You can set these terms for each customer individually, and you can set one to be default for everyone. So if we came in, we'll see if these guys have one. So their terms are on credit card here. So that's if we wanted to change that based on what we have here, we would come down and we would say, okay, we're going to change. Oh, sorry, I missed it. We're going to change the terms to from credit card to net 30. And now that'll be saved for the customer moving forward. So that is where you see the payment terms show up. You can come in and put your tax number in. The tax number, if you choose, can feed into documents based on a tag that we have set in the back end. You can also set the default tax rate for your system. And you can also come in and enter all the different tax types and rates that that might apply to you guys and any customers that you have in the system. Moving on, we will check out the admin section. So this account, basically this is just a quick link to your shop. So if you come in and click settings and account, it's going to bring you to your customer page. As you can see, we've got all the information down the left-hand side here. At any point in time, if you need to edit anything about your company, whether you've switched locations or you've got a new new domain or a new email or something along those lines, you can just come in here in Actions and edit it. If you need to add any users, this is where you would do it. So let's say someone's been hired and you need to give them access in the Docket Manager. We would come in here to this contact screen and we would say new. You're going to get just a little form that shows up. You can fill it out real quick, give them a title. Obviously, it's going to belong to your company. Fill out this real quick. Oops. And if you need to tag the contact with anything, you can do so. We'll save that. So I'm now a contact in the in the company, but I'm not yet a user. In order to make me a user, you have to come down here. You have to assign a security role to me. We will get into these security roles in a minute here. Basically, you would just say, okay, let's see the pressman, so he'll only see certain things that the pressman can see. You'll have to assign a username, and then you'll have to create a password for them. This is all. They can come in and create new passwords whenever they want. You can also set the passwords for them. Some people don't like having their employees have access to the password, so some managers and owners will assign the passwords for them and just keep a list of all the usernames and passwords. Just say so that once you click save, it's going to prompt you that now there's been an active user added to the system. Now, if we go back into our printing company via the breadcrumbs, you'll see that I've been added into the system and I am marked off as a user. Going back to the settings page, we'll look at configuration. This is something just really quick. What time zone are you in? The date format on what you'd like to see, how it appears in the system, and which language you'd like to use. In the integration section, you will have the option to sign up with Authorize.net. Basically, what that's going to allow is Docket Manager and your staff to process credit card transactions, whether it's directly in Docket Manager or a new feature is allowing customers to log into our online portal and pay for a balance online as well. So you will have that option. You can set up your hot folders in the integration section. And we do offer a shipping integration with Shippo. All that is sort of a middleman. You would go online, register your UPS, your FedEx, DHL, anything that you guys might use with Shippo. And then in an order, you would be able to go into an order and create a shipment for the order. And once you create all the shipments, you would just have to hit this Get Rates button. And all that's going to do is look at, feed right into Shippo, and it's going to look at your UPS, your FedEx, and your DHL, and it's going to feed all the rates right into this page. And you can just select which one you'd like to use and request the shipment be made. It's a really nice feature. A lot of people like it. And we recommend that you guys sign up for Shippo and Authorize.net. It makes a really smooth process. Going back to those security roles that I was talking about, much of the information in the system is private based on the role that the user has set. These are sort of the stock roles that come with the system. Most users and owners are going to be an internal administrator. You can break that down and you can create one for a pressman. So if you want your pressman basically to only see, maybe you only want them to see what's going on in production and orders and things that they have to print. You would be able to come in here and just say, okay, I don't want them to see, anything in the accounting section. I don't want them to see anything in the settings section, so they can't go in and change anything. This is where you would go in and do all that. You can add as many roles as you like, so you can have one for press, graphics, your administration person, your accountant, so that they can only see accounting information. Super easy to do. You would just create a new role. Let's say we want to create one for the accountant. Oops. We could just call it accounting only. And then we could say, okay, we want them to be able to see the accounting stuff in the settings section. We want them to be able to look at all the reports and the analysis stuff. And we want them to see the accounting section on its own. We could save that. Now, essentially, anyone, if Jack Printer were to have the accounting role assigned to him, he would only be able to see the accounting section here. That's where you would change all these security roles here. We'll go to the customer defaults now. Basically what this is going to do is set up when you're creating a new customer, anything you have set in this page is going to default on that new customer. So if you've got a particular sales rep that is basically, maybe you're a small shop and you've only got one sales rep, you could assign that sales rep automatically to the customer. If you'd like to assign a certain CSR, you could assign that. If you've got specific artists, maybe you're rotating, or you've got a head graphic artist that maybe you want to assign the contacts to, you could do that as well. You can apply tags to whether or not, maybe a handy tag would be if they want a hard copy statement or an email statement for statements feature. Keep in mind these will be defaults, and even though they are defaults, you can change them when you are creating the customer at any point in time. You can select a default ship type, so whether or not it's going to be delivered or picked up or anything along those lines. You can select how the customer is going to be receiving the majority of their invoices. A lot of people now are just going with an emailed option. And you can set the default terms. So most shops do have a default term. Odds are it's going to be upon receipt, so that they're paying when they pick up the order or when it's delivered. You can set a default discount. A lot of people will likely not use that, but if you do offer discounts across the board, you can set the default discount here. You can set a default credit limit so that your customers can only reach a ceiling of $1,000. You can set a default tax type, so depending on what province you're in or state, you might want to do this. Requires PO. Basically what that's going to do is if you're trying to post the order and there's no PO number, you can't post the order without it. So if this is set to requires PO yes, then you won't be able to post the order without a PO number in the system. A lot of companies like that feature, just kind of keeps things in check and makes sure everything's on the order in terms of information that's needed. And you can set a default handling fee. So if you're doing any shipping with the Shippo integration, if you have this set to, let's mark up 15%, that's automatically going to do, when you do the get rates, it's automatically going to do, let's say you've got a shipment for $10, it's automatically going to apply that 15% to the $10 and bill the shipping that way. You can set a default commission contact. Like I said, it's likely going to be something that's left blank and particularly specific to certain customers. And you can also assign default online ordering information. If you are doing online ordering, you have to make sure that you have at least on account selected, or else the customer will not be able to check out. So it's recommended that you definitely keep on account. If you are doing the Authorize.net integration, you'll have to make sure you have the credit card selection here so that they can pay with their credit card online. And with the online ordering, you can set a default shipping charge for any orders. You can set the default shipping type, so whether or not you're shipping it out UPS or however, and then you can select from the order due options that are available in the back end. These will just be ones that are available for the customer to select online when they're checking out. So whatever's set here will be the only things that are available to them. So if they only have shipped, then you'll only want to make sure it's shipped. This will just be what's selectable for them. So that is where you can address all the customer defaults. It's sort of a way to kind of get the process of setting up a customer sped up if you've got a bunch of defaults across the board. Moving on, we will go to the docket section. and into this general option. So what this is going to do is this is basically going to be sort of the basic information for any orders and dockets that are being placed in the system. So what we're doing now is we're just going to look at the defaults for an order that's coming in. Right now it's set to default order customer set to walk in. So when you go and do a new order, let's just do new order, it's automatically going to default to that customer. So odds are a lot of people go with a walk-in option, but it can be whatever you like. You can set default order statuses. If you've got, something that's always going to need a proof or something along those lines, you can set order tags, the approved total, whether or not you want an approved total on that order. That again, we'll just go back to this section here, whether or not that's going to be there. You can assign a default handling fee similar to the customer default. You can do it to an order as well. The default assigned to, so who's that order going to be, what name is that order going to be placed under based on who's in your shop. So if it's always got to go to your production manager, let's say Tom's our production manager, you're going to want to make the default assigned to Tom, and then he'll be able to dole out the jobs as they come in. You can choose whether or not you want to bill estimated graphic time. On an order, all that means is if we were looking at this and we came in to this graphic section and we estimated that it was going to take 30 minutes, and our bill estimated graphic time was set to yes, this would just be filtered into yes, and then we would automatically be billing for that 30 minutes that we estimated the job was going to take. You can select a default rate for graphics that you've got on here, whether or not you're doing website design or graphic changes or quick changes. You can set the default graphic rate. The proof approval message is just when you're when a customer is placing an order and they get a proof from the system, it's approved. They'll just get a message saying thank you for reviewing your order or whatever you want to type into this section. This is where you'd also set if you'd like to track your inventory or not. You do have the function to do that. If you set this to yes, then you'll be tracking your inventory. You can select item statuses. As well as item tags. These template groups are what you would see when you're setting up the job templates in the back end. I believe that's going to be saved for another session, if I'm not mistaken. It's a fairly big chunk of the training. But this is where you would set your template groups. So if you wanted to create one for let's just call it calendars, you would then have that option to create a bunch of job templates under the calendars function or the calendars group. Same idea with the department item groups and the press groups as well. Down at the bottom here, we have these note labels. So what these are any notes that you're going to be adding to the order. So you can come in and you can create a new label and say, we'll call it, this is the proof label. We can set the color to be whatever we want it to be. And then when we go into an order and we create a note, oops, save this. We can refresh this. and we were to create a note, we would now have that proof availability. And you could just say customer requires proof and just make sure that's attached onto this order here. So this is where you would come in and create all the labels that you want for the system. A lot of people sort of stick to a hierarchy, whether it's urgent, non-urgent, shipping, order, whatever it is. You can create and add as many as you want. Going back into the settings, some other things you guys can take a look at in this order options section. The item type, so whether or not this is a new order to be followed up upon, reorder with changes, or reorder without changes. I believe those are the new order, reorder with changes, and reorder without changes are the stock that come with the system. You can obviously add as many item types as you want. Maybe it's you want to create one specifically for an online order. You can go ahead and do that. And all that is we could come in here and just say, let's say, we want to come in, we can go edit. Where are we? Nope, I'm not at the right level, my mistake. We would have to go into an item. And then we would just select this was an order, online order. So again, you can go in and create as many of those as you like. You can also create file groups. So when you're on an item itself, this is where you would select the file group, so whether or not it's customer file, a print file, a PRN, a plate file, whatever you want, you can add and create as you like. The unit of measure, it is basically a link between the quantity and sets. So these, I believe, are what we have standard. So you would do a wraparound book of 25 or something along those lines. So if we had a wraparound book, let's just say this is a wraparound book. We could come in here into the details section, and let's just say we want book of 25. Now that's automatically going to make all the calculations, and you'll also notice that it'll show up here. So if you go into your pricing and let's say you want 50, it's now going to show you, okay, I want 50 books of 25. And by the same function, you could do pads of or whatever unit of measure you have here. The order due options are going to be the options that are selectable for the order. You can come in and add as many as you like and delete as you like. A lot of people don't like the next day and same day option. And you can also set a default. So anything that comes in is going to be 10 days right now. So if you came into an order, we would edit that. And we wanted to change the dates of an item, my mistake. We would go edit. And then you would have these buttons to click down at the bottom. So let's say the order was placed today. We could come down and say 10 days, 5 days, next day, and it's going to automatically change all these days right here. Each one of the due dates you can change. So if you click on one of the order due options itself, you can say, okay, I want 2 days for my graphics due date, and I want 4 more days on top of that, and then 2 days to do finishing, and then I want 2 more days to get it out of the shop itself. So you can come in and change how many days you want each department to have with the job. What that'll do in the production screen depending on the view modes that you have, if we go into digital and it has a press view mode, it's going to say anything that's in red is going to be past the due date that we have. So it's a handy little feature to have just to keep everything running smoothly in the shop. The invoice delivery, again, whether it's not or it's emailed or mailed or with the order. The default shipping dimensions that you want to use. So if you're using our Shippo integration, it'll automatically select inches and pounds or whatever you want your units to be. Again, if you are using the Shippo integration, you can come in and create boxes. What that'll do at the order when you go to create a new shipment, and you can select a parcel. Maybe the token's not working, but basically you would select new, and then anything that's available in these boxes, you would be able to select from a drop down and just say, okay, I'm using this box. Just saves you from having to enter the information manually each shipment. The shipping type, as well as if you'd like a description on the shipping type and whether or not it's visible online. Odds are you're likely going to be, FedEx is only going to be visible online or DHL or whatever you want. You can add new ones and delete. Statuses. Statuses are a nice new feature in the system. It's a nice visual, quickly identify something that needs to be done right away or for a certain date. As you can see, there's quite a few statuses in here. And basically what you can do is assign a status to an item, whether it needs a proof or whether it's rush or time sensitive. And what that'll do is in this production screen again, if we're looking at a certain production queue, and we can take a look at the certain statuses here and say, okay, this is a rush. Let's get that done right away. This is a proof. This is date sensitive for a certain day. So it just enables the production staff to kind of quickly assess what might need to be done right away in production. You can assign as many statuses you want as to an order, and you can create and delete as needed. Back into settings, we'll go to production. So these are the where you would set your production queues. All that means is what you see along the cross of this, along the cross of atop of the production screen. Some people like to order it by machine, so you could have digital press, and you'd want the view type to be press, and it's in the production queue, yes, active, yes. Some people would like to have offset press as well. So you can set as many as you want, and it's whatever's going to work best for the workflow in your shop. And then if we were to refresh this, we now have digital press and offset press. You can also come in and reorder them. So maybe you want offset press and digital press to be behind pre-press. Right now it's in front. So you can reorder them by clicking and dragging on the side there. And then if you refresh the page, they'll be moved into the appropriate spot based on how you want the workflow in your shop to work. In terms of workflow, this is where you would assign any new orders go to this production queue. So whether it's to the graphics person, if you want to have it under a production manager queue so that they can go in and assign all the jobs to graphics, whether it's a reorder with changes or if it's press and they can send it right to the press. This is basically where all the new orders are going to dump into. So right now they're set to assign. So if there's a new order that came in, it would just go into this to assign queue to be assigned to the appropriate department and person. Any posted orders are going to go to delivery right now. Again, depending on how your production in your shop and your workflow goes, this can be whatever queue you desire. And then you can select the queue priority as well. Back into the settings, we'll take a look at stock. This is where you can create default attributes for any stock, so you can create markups, blank markups, sizes. If you ever run into anything where you're getting a 0 by 0 stock size, odds are you'll have to just come in here and it would look something like this. I'll show you what that would look like. So if you're ever in an order and you get a 0 by 0 size, oh, I guess I can't reverse it, but all it would be was the width and length that's blank here, so you would just have to fill in, okay, that's 8.5 by 11. This is where you can manage all the colors as well, and the finishes, and any weight. So all this is doing, if you were creating a new stock, it's going to pull from these defaults. If you have, is it multi-part 1, 2, any cut costs, and the default lift sizes as well. So that was a crash course on things that you guys can go in and be setting up for yourselves. What I'll do now is I will unmute everyone, and what you guys can do is sort of ask questions, and I can address them as best I can. So everyone is unmuted now, so someone can ask away if they have any questions. Like I said, this was recorded, so you will have access to be able to go back and take a look at what everything was. Does anyone have anything? If you don't have, if you haven't called into the meeting and you have video only, you can type it on the chat if you've got any questions.
Tori, I do have a question about setting up the AuthorizeNet. If we already have an account with them, if we go to that click on button, would we just enter our account information there?
You would just have to create the account online, and then once you get it all set up online, what's going to happen is it's going to have, I'll show you what it would look like. Here. I'll just take a snip of what it would look like, and you guys can see. This is what it sort of looks like. You would have your login ID and your transaction key, and then you would be able to select a Visa credit card, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, based on all the cards that you have set up.
Okay, so if I click on that, all I have to do is enter my login and transaction key, which I already have.
Yep, and then the options should become available for you.
Okay. Another question, since we're on the screen about the hot folders.
Yep.
Would I be able to put in an ISP address?
I can't speak to setting up the hot folders myself. I know it's super simple, something along those lines, and definitely something that I can touch base with you about.
Okay.
Does anyone else have any questions? Okay. Well, thanks everyone for coming today. Hopefully that made sense. And like I said, this has been recorded, so you guys will have access to the recording. And obviously, if anyone does have any questions along the way, they can give us a shout.
Thanks, Tori.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.